Last Man Home. On the Sky Road. Written by John Miro. Part 6. As soon as my legs started twitching, I dragged myself up against the wall. My first word, once the paralysis cleared from my throat, didn't make any sense to my own ears, but I think it had something to do with the pins and needles you get when your foot goes to sleep. Only everywhere had gone to sleep, and now it was waking up in an angry hurry. Pins and needles that did not tingle, they burned like they'd been sterilized in a blast furnace, and maybe dipped in acid. Ow! The sounds of boots grew louder from the hallways ahead of us and back the way we'd come. Panting from the effort of getting my body to sit up against the wall, I made little gimme motions towards Teddy and Gris with both hands. "Nice flying tackle," Teddy chuckled, and a tail flipped the third butler guard stunner in my direction. It landed south of my belt, and I said ow again, but higher pitched. "Sorry," Teddy hiss-laughed as I dragged the butt of the stunner out of my crotch. This was not normal behavior. Some abnormal higher brain function chided me as miracle of miracles. I got the weapon up and ranged over the corridor ahead of me. My arms were cramping, but they worked. I'd pushed myself ahead to get a better view of what was coming. Worst case scenario, I could be a bloody canary in a coal mine for my friends before they were in range. "So not normal," screamed that rare cogent part of me at the back of my head. Adrenaline monkey me agreed with the thought, but was a little too busy to give it any serious consideration. Man, if I'd known luxury cruises were this much fun, I'd have come years ago. Someone barked a command, and the boots jerked to a stop out of sight. That was the extent of their military discipline, though. Whispering immediately started up from around the corner. "Real professionals," Gris muttered wryly and waited. Teddy started humming that same damn John Denver tune he used to hum before action. Something about taking him home to West Virginia, which meant we were about to get into it. "Wait," whispered a human female somewhere behind me. I kept my right eye on the hall I was covering and swiveled my left, thank you, army surgeons, back the way we'd come. The terrified whisper belonged to the girl I'd seen ducking back into the cafeteria. She was holding on to another woman, who kissed her on the lips and pushed her back through the cafeteria door. "Stay in there," the newcomer ordered in a tone I recognized. The nervous Nellies were close enough to the entrance of the corridor I could see their shadows move and hear their feet shuffle. They kept on debating with each other instead of charging. Stupid mistake, but I was glad for it, because it let me study the woman walking towards my friends, hands out to her sides, palms facing forward and empty. "Dust off, lady," Gris warned her. His voice was even, neutral. No warmth, no nerves, no aggression. The lady cocked an eyebrow. "Love to, but you assholes just ruined a nice stretch of I&I for me." I turned both my eyes her way. Teddy stopped humming about country roads. She was a soldier. That was clear from her saunter, her cool with a weapon in her face, and the slang she used. I&I. Intoxication and intercourse. Adrenaline has a funny way of cutting through the social niceties. What with it usually getting pumped through your veins when your life was on the line. But hearing I'd ruined her good times somehow made me feel like an asshole, in a way knocking down 3 of her crewmates and standing off against another pack of them just couldn't. It also indicated she felt responsible for cooling our jets. Her belt was undone and her uniform open, obscuring the patches denoting her rank. A few strands of long black hair had been pulled free from her utilitarian ponytail and fell across her face. Dark eyes and Persian features regarded us in a combination expression that was part annoyed, part concerned, and part bemused. As former ranking officer and nominal leader of this exploratory party, I was still trying to decide how to respond to her sudden appearance when she took care of it for me. "This is Whitaker," she called over our heads and down the hall. "Condition yellow, sports." That sounded hopeful to me. I looked at Teddy, cocking an eyebrow. He looked back at me and let his forked lizard tongue hang out his mouth, the Kaiban equivalent of holding his breath to see what happened. My heart slammed a few times while we waited. "Sir?" came an incredulous croak from around the corner. "They've already taken out 3. Whitaker's laugh cut off his protest. "By the look of it, they took themselves out." Her eyes landed on me. Her combo expression tilted away from annoyed and more toward intrigued. Could have ended up a lot worse, seems to me. Weapons cold and slung. Line up out here. Her voice deepened into a warning growl. Now. 4 butler guards walked out, their bulky stunners hanging from shoulder straps, eyes darting between the crazies who attacked their friends and the crazy senior officer who obviously scared them even more. I let my stunner clatter to the floor, nodding to Teddy and Gris to do the same. They did. See, Whitaker said as she did up her uniform tunic and tucked it back into her pants. Look at us being all civil and such. She ordered the new clowns to pick up their friends. Get them to the dock, on the QT. We don't need any reports sent up, do we, officers? No, sir. No, Deputy Chief. No, Chief, came from the last officer, whose nose I'd broken with my flying circus act. As they filed off, Whitaker tapped an earring and muttered something. The alarms and flashing lights all cut out. Authentication, Whitaker 696. Lock this hour's emergency alerts under emergency preparedness drills and erase pending command notifications. Her earring buzzed in acknowledgement. You're lucky you pulled this shit at night. The Sky Road's very important senior officers have a stringent do not disturb policy. Mustn't disturb their beauty sleep. That little genius part of my brain that had been screaming at me ever since Teddy had shown up and put me in dog soldier mode breathed a big sigh of relief. Whitaker was tidying up what could have been a very ugly mess. Trying to wedge myself up the wall and talking at the same time clearly wasn't working for me yet. Whitaker offered me her hand and hauled me to my feet. Priya Whitaker, Sky Road Deputy Chief Security. And you are? Teddy and Gris appeared on either side of Whitaker, both blurting their names at the same time. She held up her other hand to shut them up while still grasping my forearm. I pointed at myself and each of my friends in turn. Jake Hanlon, Teddy, Gris. We're outbound for Gaulis. Take it to him, she replied automatically, confirming what I'd assumed. She was a vet, same as us, which explained the kindness of the last few minutes. Hoorah! All 3 of us replied back automatically. Whitaker smirked at me. Now that's taken care of. The casino's behind me. How's about I use my staff discount on the first round? And then maybe tell me what had you ground-pounding into crew-only territory? She looked at each of us in turn. My eyes widened, then narrowed. As I started to fumble together an explanation, I remembered it was security who had knocked our friend out and hauled him away. She read my expression and backed out from between Teddy and Gris. We just kissed and made up, fellas. I don't want to go another round, okay? I stalked forward. No promises, Deputy Chief. Not until we see our friend. Last man home. On the Sky Road. Written and recorded by John Miro. Stay tuned.